They are one of the most iconic figures in history, the legendary samurai of feudal Japan. When we hear the word samurai, we often picture fearsome warriors in ornate armor, masters of the katana, living and dying by a strict code of honor. But the story of the samurai is much more than just battles and blades. It's a thousand-year epic of a military class that rose from provincial obscurity to rule a nation, shaping its culture, politics, and identity in ways that are still felt today. From their humble beginnings to their golden age and eventual dramatic end, the samurai were the soul of a nation. So draw your swords and join me as we journey back in time to uncover the true story of Japan's legendary warriors. The tale of the samurai begins not in a grand battle, but in the elegant and refined Heian period, which lasted from the late 8th to the late 12th century. At this time, Japan's central government in Kyoto was run by a sophisticated aristocracy, more interested in poetry, art, and courtly romance than in military matters. They outsourced the dirty work of defense and law enforcement to provincial clans. These clans, stationed far from the capital's luxuries, developed a distinct identity centered around martial skill and self-reliance. They were the original saburao, which means those who serve. These early samurai were essentially armed servants of the nobility, hired muscle to protect estates, collect taxes, and put down rebellions. They were skilled horsemen and archers, their primary weapon being the yumi or longbow. The famous katana would only become their signature weapon much later. It was in these rough and tumble provinces that the foundations of the samurai class and their unique warrior ethos were first laid. At the very heart of the samurai identity was a powerful code of conduct known as Bushido, which translates to the way of the warrior. Bushido wasn't a single written text, but rather a set of moral principles that evolved over centuries. Guiding a samurai's life both on and off the battlefield, it was an unwritten code that every warrior was expected to live by, and it was brutal in its demands. The most important virtue was ji, or justice, and integrity, doing the right thing always. Next was yu, or courage. A samurai had to face fear, hardship, and death without flinching. Then came jin, or compassion. Despite being warriors, they were expected to show mercy and help others. Rei, or respect, dictated proper conduct in all social interactions. Makoto meant honesty and sincerity. Samurai's word was his bond. Meisho, or honor, was the core of their existence. The samurai's personal dignity and reputation were paramount. To lose one's honor was considered worse than death itself, often leading to the ritual suicide known as seppuku. Finally, chugi, or loyalty. This was the bedrock of the entire system. A samurai owed absolute, unwavering loyalty to their lord or daimyo. This loyalty transcended family, friendship, and even their own life. This demanding code is what transformed them from mere soldiers into a legendary warrior class. The transition from provincial protectors to the rulers of Japan was a pivotal moment in the nation's history. By the late 12th century, the two most powerful samurai clans, the Taira and the Minamoto, clashed for control of the country in the brutal Genpei War. After years of conflict, Minamoto no Yoritomo emerged victorious. But instead of just influencing the imperial court from a distance, he did something revolutionary. In 1192, he established a new military government in Kamakura, far from the emperor's capital in Kyoto. He took the title of shogun, meaning great general, and created the Kamakura shogunate. This marked the beginning of nearly 700 years of samurai rule in Japan. The emperor remained a revered, symbolic figurehead. But real political and military power now rested firmly in the hands of the shogun and the samurai class. They were no longer just servants. They were the de facto ruling class, managing vast estates, administering justice, and defending the nation. Their rise to power was complete, and Japan entered a new era, the Age of the Samurai. The samurai's dominance reached its peak during a long period of civil war known as the Sengoku Jidai, or the Warring States period. It was a chaotic but defining time. Local warlords, the daimyo, fought relentlessly for land and power. This era forged some of history's most famous samurai, like Oda Nobunaga, Toyotomi Hideyoshi, and Tokugawa Ieyasu, three great unifiers of Japan. It was Tokugawa Ieyasu who finally ended the centuries of conflict after his victory at the Battle of Sekigahara in 1600. He established the Tokugawa shogunate, which would rule Japan for over 250 years from its new capital in Edo, modern-day Tokyo. This ushered in the Edo period, a long and unprecedented era of peace and stability. The samurai's role began to change dramatically. With no wars to fight, they transitioned from warriors into a hereditary administrative class, became bureaucrats, scholars, and officials, managing the domains of their lords. While they still wore their two swords as a symbol of their status, their martial skills became more ceremonial. The fierce warrior was slowly being replaced by the refined gentleman scholar. The final chapter in the samurai story is one of dramatic and rapid decline. The long peace of the Edo period had made the samurai's traditional role as warriors obsolete. Many struggled financially, becoming a privileged but often impoverished class. The final blow came in the mid-19th century. American Commodore Matthew Perry arrived with his black ships in 1853, forcing Japan to open its ports to the West after centuries of isolation. This event triggered massive social and political upheaval. The shogunate was seen as weak and unable to deal with the foreign threat. A group of reform-minded samurai, primarily from the southern domains of Satsuma and Choshu, led a movement to overthrow the shogunate and restore direct imperial rule. In 1868, they succeeded in what is known as the Meiji Restoration. The young Emperor Meiji was placed back in power, and Japan embarked on a rapid path of modernization and westernization. The new government saw the feudal system and the samurai class as relics of the past, an obstacle to creating a modern nation-state. The end came swiftly. The domains were abolished and replaced with prefectures. The samurai's right to wear swords in public, their most cherished symbol of status, was outlawed. Their stipends were converted into government bonds, which quickly lost value, plunging many into poverty. The final nail in the coffin was the establishment of a modern conscripted army open to all social classes. The samurai's exclusive right to bear arms was gone forever. Some samurai, unable to accept this new reality, rebelled. The most famous of these was the Satsuma Rebellion of 1877, led by the legendary Seigo Takamori, often called the Last Samurai. But his traditional samurai warriors were no match for the government's modern army. Their defeat marked the definitive end of the samurai as a military and political force. In just a few short years, a class that had dominated Japan for nearly 7 centuries simply vanished. Though the samurai class was officially dissolved, their legacy is anything but gone. It's woven into the very fabric of modern Japan. The principles of Bushido, discipline, honor, loyalty, and perseverance have been adapted and absorbed into Japanese culture, influencing everything from business practices and martial arts to the national character itself. The image of the samurai, the stoic warrior living by a code of honor, continues to captivate people around the world through movies, anime, and literature. They are a timeless symbol of discipline, sacrifice, and the relentless pursuit of perfection. The story of the samurai is a powerful reminder that even the mightiest can fall. But a strong legacy, a code to live by, can endure forever. They were more than just warriors. They were the architects of a nation's soul. Bet you didn't know that. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this journey into the world of the samurai, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into history. Let me know in the comments which historical topic you'd like to see next. See you in the next video.